beauty talk, and more, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Hi, Jean-Noel Bassior, inviting you to join me for my new show, The Book Beat, Monday evenings at 6:30 p.m. I'll be talking to authors about their latest book so you can find a fantastic read. But more than that, I'll be talking to experts about how you can write your own book and get it published. So tune in on Mondays at 6:30 p.m. exclusively on latalklive.com. And remember, you can catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Hi, and welcome to the Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior, and on this show, we feature authors and talking about their latest books and guest experts who can help you if you're a writer. Help you write your book, get it published, and even do promotion and publicity. And today we're going to be joined in a few minutes by Gail Murphy, who does exactly that. She is known as the Celebritizer. And if you're an expert or an author, she can give you great media tips about how to survive any kind of interview that you might be doing with the media. So we've got a great show. We have Carol Woodliff, who has written a really life-changing book about an amazing experience that she had that just totally transformed her life when she felt she was hitting the wall. And we have Grace Atsuko Lee, who's an author that I'm quite familiar with. She has written 2 books. One is on etiquette and social graces, and the other is on her experience growing up as a mixed-race child in Japan and facing a lot of prejudice there. Unbelievable story of survival. So before we bring Gail Murphy on here, I just want to talk for a minute, give you just update you on some news in the book world. There was a great article by Penny Sanseveri, who I think is going to be a guest on this show, right? My producer, Susan Levin, says yes. And she had a really interesting story, a really interesting article in her e-zine that was different. I just want to share a little bit of it with you, because how often do you find out ways that you can help your favorite author? I mean, most of the stories that we cover on this show and most of the advice, that's out there for writers is about what you can do to promote your book. And, we need that. We need a lot of that. But she wrote a very different and kind of sweet piece about, what if you read a book and you love it and you want to help that author promote it? So there's actually some things that you can do. And here are a couple of the suggestions that she made. First of all, you can review the book. And I like this suggestion because I want to say review the book if you really feel motivated to review the book. There's a big difference between reviewing the book because you've fallen in love with the book and you love it, as opposed to what is usually done, which is, okay, I want all my friends to review it on Amazon, and try to do it the same day if you can, so that everything goes up on Amazon. That's manipulation, which is, you probably know if you've heard other shows, I am against. I'm kind of old-fashioned in thinking that a good book will garner good reviews. And so this is something that you can do for an author, write an authentic, heartfelt review, and it's okay if it's slightly critical, whatever, be honest. But if you love the book, it's going to show. So that's one thing you can do. Another thing is post a photograph of yourself on social media reading the book, in Paris, on vacation, having a great time, something that, will attract attention, or just, a photograph of you reading the book, talk about it on social media. Go to your local bookstore if you can find one, and say that you had to buy it on Amazon because they didn't carry it, and suggest that they carry it. So that's another thing that you can do. You can join Goodreads and Library Thing online. These are places where people discuss the books that they're reading. And actually, in preparing for this show, I just found out, I checked out Library Thing, and found out that this head of artificial intelligence, he's a programmer, at some big corporation, has my book on early television in his library. So you can get to know your readers, who's reading your book. That was a Library Thing and Goodreads. That's kind of phenomenal. So, post positive comments there. And you could buy the book and donate it to your local library, because sometimes it's hard for authors to get into libraries. So these are things that you can do. Susan Levin, my producer and head of speaker services, called this story to my attention. And I think thank you. I think it's really a wonderful, it's like a twist on the usual stuff that's out there. So just wanted to share that with you, so we can give back to the authors who really spend so many thousands of hours putting their books together. So, Gail Murphy, we have a real pro here. I mean, ABC News, the BBC, AP Radio, and E! I mean, you have been just all over the place in the mainstream.
Trying to make a living, honey.
Yeah, well, just you have to do it, right? I mean, sometimes we have to do things to survive, right?
Yes.
So, but now you've taken your background and you've written this book on interview tactics for people who don't have your amazing background. And what do you find is the biggest misconception that people have when they're going to go and do a talk show appearance or an interview? What do they have expectations that are a bit off or unrealistic?
Well, I think the biggest one is they think people are going to listen to them talk for 7 minutes without stopping.
Yeah, that was a leading question.
That they can just go on, and you're just going to hang on every single word.
And that you're going to follow all their questions, right?
Yeah. Well, your business, product, or service is never going to speak for you. I mean, that total. That falls under the category of magical thinking. So that is never going to happen. But the biggest single mistake people make when they do interviews is they think it's about them. It's not. It's about the story. I am on this show. I'm on any show to show how smart you are. My job here is to say, oh my gosh, let's watch that show on LA Talk, the Book Beat, because they have such great people on it. So the skill set is that you have the ability to pull in really good people. My job is to reinforce that. So it's to show up. But the biggest single thing people don't do when they do an interview is they don't prepare. So they don't know what sound bites are. They don't know what talking points are. They don't know the language of the media. I say prepare in advance and know what you're going to say before you say it. Just don't write a script. Think more along the lines of bullet points so you don't sound like a robot. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to 4 questions anyway.
And what are those 4?
I call it the Fab 4. Thank you. I set you up on that.
and I took the.
You took the bait
Wasn't
beautifully.
that beautiful?
Thank you. Thank you. Check, please. It is the Fab 4, and it's who are you? Who are you? What are you selling? Why do I need it? What problem is it going to solve for me? And where can I find it? How do I get it? So you may be asked 50 questions, but it's all basically going to leapfrog off of those 4 questions.
So you kind of like have to sometimes steer it back to that, right?
Well, I have a 5-part workbook in the back of my book, Interview Tactics, which actually teaches you how to find your story. Once you have your story and you know what falls under who am I, what am I selling, why do I need it, and where can I get it, then you can just steal from yourself. You just work the pedals because you know the story.
Right. And the host, you see, one of the biggest misconceptions I feel people have is, especially if they're asked to submit questions, they really think that the host is going to go down these questions and go like, well, and some of the questions I've gotten are like, why did your friends like your book so much? Or we actually got one like that.
Yeah.
Or
mine is number 8. Why did my friends like the book so much?
Oh, okay. But we know, and you come from mainstream, and I have a similar background, and we know that your editor or a talk show producer, their host, that we have angles. We have angles that we want to bring out in the show. The show has a purpose, or if it's an interview for the press, the editor has given the reporter an angle, right?
Well, the media is in the news business, let's
Yes.
face it. They're not in the business of promoting your business, product, or service.
Exactly.
If your business, product, or service makes them look good, guess what? You're the media darling of the next 24 hours. That's about it. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
how do we learn to speak their language? Because that was great what you said. People have to speak the language of the media. So what is that?
Well, typically what I do, even when I have a media coaching client, I really have them buy the book first because time is money, so we can get down to it. But there's your pitch, sound bites, and talking points. So a sound bite is basically, and this is all based on my definition. I invented these definitions. That doesn't mean that I invented the definition of sound bites. This is Murphy's Law. A sound bite is a brief and outstanding mini version of who you are and what you're selling. A brief and outstanding mini version of who you are and what you're selling. A talking point is what you're going to talk about whenever you talk about who you are and what you do. My talking points for this interview quite possibly might not be the same talking points for my next interview. So how do I know which ones to use? Well, I do my homework. Getting back to what I said earlier, I prepare in advance. What do they like to talk about? What do they eat? What floats their boat? How do you get asked back again? What are their favorite things? You know what? You Googled me before this. Guess what? I Googled you too. So I know what you like. And that's the whole idea. Because I'm a good guest and I know what my job is. It's not to sell my book, which would be great, but it's to make, and I don't mean this in a condescending way, but it's to make you and your show look good. Which is I didn't just invent that. That's what it is. Because if I sat here and I didn't answer the questions and I had no energy and I gave you yes or no answers, guess what? A big hook would come and I would be gone.
Right. So I'll do something really unprecedented here. I'll say, what is the biggest point or thing you would like to make? Like how, if you had your dream interview right now and you could say anything you want, promote your book or tell us what's in it. So go ahead, tell us what's...
Well, my goal in writing the book and my goal for speaking and my goal for coaching is to change the way people think about the media forever. Absolutely. And I tell them when I speak, if after spending time with me, I haven't changed the way you think about the media, then you can take me out into the parking lot and kick my butt. So far, no one has done that or has even taken me up on it. But the fact is, we are broadcasting 24/7. You need to forget about everything you learned about the media in school. We are the media. And what I mean by that is, armed with a couple social media sites and an iPhone, you're broadcasting 24/7.
We're all networks now. We're all our own network, aren't we?
We are all our own network. So every single person that can hear you, see you, touch you, read your posts is potentially your next client, next customer, next fan. What is it that you really want them to know? That you just ate a donut?
Right.
Hello? Hello? And what happens when I tell people that, suddenly they go, oh my God, I just did tweet that I ate a donut.
That. Yeah.
I just posted that.
And I took a picture of it.
Half eaten.
Yeah.
I did a series,
I
right?
did a series, right? My donut series.
That's true.
Yeah.
So what happens is their eyes get all glazed over and I say, you know what, it's okay. Because every minute is a new day.
And it goes by so fast.
It goes by so fast. The fact is we need to do what we're doing with intention. You need to run your Facebook page, your Twitter, as if you have a store. It's showtime. You got to get the lead out of your pants. You have, and here's this. If you're one of those people that checks your email before you even get out of bed in the morning, you're broadcasting from under the covers.
Right.
That's right. It used to be that it was showtime from the minute you walked out of the house in the morning. That's not the case anymore. So, and this whole idea and concept of privacy is that also falls under the category of magical thinking.
Well, that's gone, isn't it?
Well, that's Dinosaurville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very. We some of us remember privacy, but
Yeah, yeah. I think it's something that
kind of dates you.
Yeah, I think it
Don't
went the way of the slip. Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It was concept that never got caught on.
Yeah. So I wrote my book because I'd met so many people when I worked for ABC News for a long time. And I had interviewed about 15,000 celebrities and newsmakers. And I met so many people along the way who had such a great product, such a great service, a great movie, a CD, a book, but were so unprepared to tell even another person about it.
Right.
That I thought, genius, I have the best idea ever. I will write the quintessential, like, Insider's Guide to Giving a Killer Interview, and I won't have to work so hard. Well, it turned into speaking and a coaching career, but that's really the reason. I mean, you just opened the show talking about how can you promote a book that you really like for an author that you don't even really know. I mean, it's pretty much the same kind of thing. You have to put yourself out there.
Well, you know, I think to a lot of people, and have you found that just giving a media interview, if you have no experience, is scary. It's very scary. So what do you say to them is there anything you say to set them at ease or any tip?
I say don't wait till your 20th interview. Now, when I have a publicist call me, I work a lot with the studios and the labels. I say, where are they? And I can hear the angels singing when they say, you know what, they're on the final mix of the first record. They haven't done anything, and the record will be released in 3 months. I mean, to me, that is just awesome.
Yeah, good timing.
But having done 6 or 7 interviews on big shows, because if you're a publicist for a label or a big PR firm, you only deal with very important outlets. And what happens is they say, you know what? Don't send me your talent anymore. Don't tell me you get your people taken care of. And then sometimes when they'll call and they'll say, do you think you could work with my talent? And I'm like, absolutely. So how many interviews have you done already? Oh, like 8. And we really need you.
So people are kind of thrown into this, I mean, in other words, your book is for people who have very little experience, right? Or is it for all levels? Or
you know what? Because the media is everywhere, it's everything from it's radio, TV, print, online, FaceTime, and real time. Because the fact is that we're picking up tweets for this and we're tweeting bits and pieces of what you say and what I say. Somebody could actually read one of those tweets and book both of us for CNN.
Yeah, and your tweets were great. I got like 1,000 tweets from you, between yesterday. And it was wonderful. I thought she's a real pro, she's really, walking the talk,
Hootsuite, honey. Hootsuite, let me tell you.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You get to schedule them, believe me.
I'll sign up right after the show.
Yeah, it's agony. It's agony.
Yeah. No, but it was great because I was looking at how you did pack that information, because I think that's a real skill. I mean, that takes focus. It takes a lot of focus to do a tweet that's going to do you some good and the host some good, right? So are these the kind of things, like what do you feel are, say, 2 or 3 of the most important things that you cover in this book for people?
One of the things I do when I walk people through this process on the interview tactics workbook, how to answer the questions and then pick out what your talking points are. Sometimes your talking points are just a word. Sometimes it's 2 words. You need to gather those together and then figure out ways to shorten them. Not so much on LinkedIn, not so much on Facebook, but Twitter, you definitely need to know how to do it. And you could do part 1 on one tweet and part 2 on another and part 3 on another.
That's true, yeah. But the focus is so important, isn't it? Doesn't it really boil down to that?
You have to pick one thing. For somebody like me, it's agony. One thing? Really? It's hard. Because
if they read your book, it's how to survive the media without getting clobbered.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do feel that they got clobbered, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
I feel clobbered right now. I'm kidding.
oh, dear. But, so if you are planning to go out and speak about your book or your film or who you are, what you do, this is a very important book from a pro. You've been a Hollywood correspondent. You know how to celebritize people.
I teach people how to celebritize themselves.
I see.
I give them the same tactics and techniques that some of the biggest superstars in business and entertainment use to celebritize themselves and their brands, so that you have a process, so that if you get called to do an interview, you have a process that you yourself own to get ready and to be able to do that.
And that's very empowering. That's very empowering, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be a good coach if I didn't teach people how to do it on their own. I just think you talked about things about yourself being old-fashioned about certain things. I call it old school. But I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't teach people how to do it themselves.
And how can they get in touch with you?
They can go to interviewtactics.com. You could go to, if you're watching this, you can go to the website and I'll send you just a bunch of free interview tips and the first 2 chapters of the book.
So interviewtactics.com.
You bet.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Gail
you.
Murphy.
Thanks
for
for having
being
me.
here.
You were great.
You're a wonderful
A+.
guest.
Oh, thank you. You were just great.
Well, stay tuned, everyone. Don't go anywhere because we have Carol Woodliff coming up. She has written From Scared to Sacred, a very unusual and life-changing spiritual journey that she went on that is pretty amazing. So don't go anywhere. This is The Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior, and this is LA Talk Live, where we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Dr. Levi, your fitness doctor, making a personal house call, inviting you to join me Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific for my all-new show, The Dr. Levi Show. Join us as we discuss fitness, health, and well-being, including emotional and spiritual health. So don't forget to tune in to The Dr. Levi Show every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com and the Talk Live Broadcast Network. You can also catch us on iTunes, Radio R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv, or catch us on the Live 365 network, and now on Radio Flag and Stitcher Radio. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Julie Orlov, inviting you to join us every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for our all-new show, Pathways to Love. Join us as we talk about love and relationships and how you can create the relationships you desire. So don't forget to tune in to Pathways to Love every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome back to The Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior, and we are here with Carol Woodliff, who has written a book, an amazing book, From Scared to Sacred, Lessons in Learning to Dance with Life. And, what was fascinating me is you have a degree in journalism,
I
actually,
do have a
right?
degree in journalism,
And then you
yes.
were a paralegal, and you were kind of in the business world.
Right.
And then I kind of snuck in on Amazon and was reading a little bit of the first pages of your book. And so it sounds like you reached a point in your life where you were wondering, like, why were you here? Who am I? What am I here for, right?
Right. I had been through so many incarnations of careers, from paralegal to I had done a little detour into acting, and then I was sitting doing hypnosis, helping people that way. And everything I tried felt close, but not it. and I went to one of those workshops where people are going to help you figure out how to build your business. And after I was done, I was like, that wasn't it either. And
Sound like you were ready to kill that guy.
I just was like, okay, you didn't help me anymore. It just felt like that I wasn't getting what I needed. And finally, I just threw my hands up to the universe and kind of surrendered and said, what do you want me to do? Because I've been trying for 40 some years and not getting there. And did a little meditation and still was cranky and upset and just started to write. And what happened is things started to flow through onto that page that I wouldn't have come from my brain.
Right. Now, was this kind of automatic writing, or were you actually feeling the energy, like the pencil or the pen moving, or was it more through your mind?
It was more automatic writing. It was more through my mind, but either I accessed a part of my brain that I had never accessed before, or someone started speaking, because even the cadence of the way things came out onto the page, friends of mine who've known me for years will look at the book and go, I know that isn't you.
Yeah, you don't write like that.
You don't write like that. You don't talk like that. What was that?
Well, one of the things was listen and don't judge. This was one of the
Right.
excerpts. Listen and don't judge. Sit and write and let me flow through you. Right? I have many books to write, many stories to tell, many miracles to perform. What were your thoughts when you wrote that down?
Well, I tend to be a little skeptical, so my first thought was, yeah, right. And then I thought, who is this, and what do you want me to do? And I went into this kind of tailspin, and I was like, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I called a friend, and she said, I guess you're going to write, aren't you? Because, I mean, you got kind of marching orders here. What are you going to do? So I probably would say I was the most reluctant channeler known to out there. I didn't want to write a book about channeling. I didn't want to write a spiritual book. It sort of was like a hand of something in the small of my back kind of just pushing me to keep going and to take this stuff down. And once I made the agreement to do that, then I would not do it for a day and I'd be in bed and I'm like, why can't I sleep? And it would be, I promised I'd do it every day, and I didn't do it. So 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be up writing, doing automatic writing and taking down the messages and then seeing what came through.
So you felt better when you did it, right?
Right. And, well, yes and no, because part of me was always questioning, what does this mean? I didn't want to be one of those people who are like, I'm getting messages.
Yeah. Were you metaphysical at all before
I
this?
had done certainly a full range of spiritual quest, but I always was a little skeptical about people who said they were getting messages from somewhere.
So you weren't into channeling?
No, I wasn't into channeling before, although now looking back, I can see moments where I got things from a different place that I had in working with clients and acting, where that inspiration flowed. But it wasn't at all my idea that I was going to channel the next spiritual book. And in fact, I don't even feel like what the purpose of the book is about the spiritual stuff as much as coming to grips with being human. And the spiritual stuff pours through, and then at the end of the day, you're still going, what do I do with all this? I have all this beautiful, it's all about love, and I'm still looking at my checkbook going, can I write this check to pay this bill, or do I pay that bill?
Can I really pay the rent this month?
Can I really pay the rent this month? So it wasn't I've got it and I'm in it. It was in the looking at my own stories and looking at how these things came through and bouncing them off my life that it really changed who I was and really accepted myself in all my imperfections and all my humanness and all my bumbles and all those things that I was really ashamed of in my life, filing bankruptcy, all of that I kept kind of as the close secret with my close friends. And I kept getting pushed to write about those things.
Wow. That must have been kind of scary.
Exactly. Scared. Very, very much. In fact, the name of the book comes from I was writing and I wrote down, I'm scared. except I looked down and it said, I'm sacred. And I went, no, 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 I am scared. And I wrote that down again, and I looked and I said, darn it says I'm sacred again. What is that about?
Darn, I'm sacred.
Darn it, I can't get away from it. So
what kind of message, that's amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of messages were these? I mean, messages like, would you ask questions about your life and what was going on? Or like, how did the process unfold here?
the process unfolded. A lot of times I would be just whatever I was going with in my life. And one of the big arcs in the book is my mother's passing. My mother, at the time I started writing, had Parkinson's, was in an assisted living home. I could see her starting to fade, and I knew she wasn't going to be here that long, and we had a rocky relationship. So in the middle of writing the book, I was working on healing that so that I had no regrets when she went to the other side. And so I would sit down and write, and it would be hard. I'd go visit her, and I'd be in the nursing home, and she'd sleep through my entire visit. And I would be like, why am I here? And then I would get these messages like, your job is just to witness and be here with love, and you don't have to do anything in this moment except sit here with her. And
your presence.
Your presence is enough. And there'd be a whole message that would come through about just being present. And that would come through at a time when I'd really need it. And I knew they were on point when I'd get either spirit chills, where I'd get all the goosebumps, or I would just start weeping as the message would come through. It was almost like a really dear friend was whispering to me, it's okay. And it's okay to be human. It's okay to screw up. It's okay to not know. It's okay. And so that was a lot of what these messages were about. It's just okay to not be in the, I know this, and not be the expert. You know, a lot of us in the media world, we're taught, okay, you've got to become an expert on something. And you've got to talk about being an expert. And I guess I'm an expert on talking about all those dark places we don't want to talk about and we don't want to admit.
The places, it sounds like you were really dealing with the places where we don't feel together, where we feel like we're kind of a mess inside, or we feel like we just can't, maybe we have to exude that confidence.
The imposter, where you're faking it till you make it, but you go home at night, like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, and I don't think I made it.
I don't think I made it. Exactly.
Yeah. So did you ever wonder, like, who was this voice? Who was this friend, or was it a group of people, or beings rather? Or?
As I always wondered, and I kept asking, and every time I'd ask, I'd get sort of a I am who I am type thing. And I joked even in the book about that. I didn't want to say, okay, I got the direct line to God, because that to me automatically put me in a role of ego, of like, I've got something other people don't have. Although I think we all have that. I think we all have the ability to tap into that higher wisdom. But what I got the most from it was, I think within all of us there's that higher place of knowing. And if it's just my higher self that I don't listen to very often, I was okay with that. And if it was something bigger, I just hoped the marching orders that it was going to give me weren't going to be something like my joke, leading people out of it, out of Egypt, like the way Moses got messages. I was like, I don't want one of those. Please don't give me anything too hard to do.
Right. Your mission is to save humanity.
Yeah, I didn't feel up for that, but I did think the conversation that just one-on-one about those places we hide and we're afraid of being raw or vulnerable is really important.
So it sounds like there's a lot of information in the book about when you say like how to be human, right? About the places where we don't feel secure and how to handle those, or is that what kind of things do you deal with in the book?
I deal obviously a lot with fear when you talk about being scared. One of the messages about fear is that all those sayings we have about fear's not your enemy, and it's not the absence of love. So many in the spiritual realm will say there's either fear or love. Fear's just a messenger that's telling you something about what's going on, and it may be a good messenger, or it may be something that's keeping you from expressing who you really are.
How can it be a good messenger?
If you're walking down the street and you start getting that little feeling in the back of your neck that something's wrong, I would say listen to that. It's
Warning.
the warning, the protection of our human body, of our human self.
Internal GPS.
Internal GPS. That's,
as Abraham Hicks says.
Yeah, that internal ability to go, this isn't right, and I don't want to go down that street, or I need to make a turn, or I need to turn around and confront someone. All of that. And sometimes we get that feeling when we're about ready to make a step that isn't the right step for us. So it's hard to discern whether fear is being kicked up to block us or whether fear is telling us don't take that avenue. So I guess I really liked the idea of all the paradoxes there in life. For every quote we get, there's something else we could say, yeah, but that's not true.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
the
but.
exception. There's the yeah, but. And I liked playing around with the yeah, buts. And people would say, what's the most important thing you learned out of this book? And they'd say, was it to meditate or was it to take down the messages? I said, no, it was to go out and play.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that, because we forget that so much, don't we?
In this world, we're so goal oriented so often, and I found myself getting in this place of like working really hard. And the message to get out and play was what gives you joy fuels the energy around you to attract what you want.
Attract more joy.
Attract more joy, and that the joy that we have in life, the individual ways we each love what you love to do, what I love to do, is how we individually express our essence here in the world. And so if we don't give ourselves the opportunity to go play, then we're not fully here. And so for me, every time I started feeling like, okay, I've got too much to do, it was like, no, you need to go listen to live music, which is one of my passions. And when I would do that, everything would shift and things would start coming easier again, be it writing or client hours or whatever was going on. So play was so important. And I give it as a prescription when I'm working one-on-one with people and they look at me like, what? You want me to go play? What's that about?
But it is so important, isn't it? I
Yeah.
know even the channel being Lazarus, I think used to say or does say that having fun is one of the goals of life, and the other was consciously creating reality. He used to say those. They used to say those two things, and the other was having fun, which we forget so much, right?
Right. We're very our puritanical roots from the Calvinistic traditions and that our American were brought up in about achieve work, all of that. And I think we can be in places where work is fun, but if we think it's all about work and it's not about community and having fun with people and expressing your passion and your joy, then you are going to, I think you're going to get to the end of your life and go, oh, I could have had a V8.
Very well said. I'll remember that. So I think we've only got a couple of minutes left here. So I would just want to make sure we know that the book then covers a wide range of things. Anything else? Like what are some of the other things that you cover? We have fear. We have kind of holding it together when we feel, insecure.
We have what evidence we collect about what's happening, how we look at our life, how we look out at the world, what we get triggered by,
what triggers us,
what triggers us,
how to respond to that.
And the overarching thing is to love yourself and love everyone else, at least to hold them that they're doing the best they can in the human realm, even when it's not what you'd want them to do. It's sort of living in that unfolding of how can I grow from what's happening right now with this person who's not showing up the way I'd like them to show up.
Right. So how can people get in touch with you?
Okay, the easiest way is the book title has a webpage. It's from scaredtosacred.com.
Okay.
That will also link them back to my personal website, but with Carol Woodliff as a last name. No one remembers how to spell.
Is that Woodruff or
Woodliff, Woodlife, Woodcliff? No. So from scaredtosacred.com or Scared to Sacred on Twitter.
Okay, that sounds good. And you do coaching? And
I do coaching and energy healing, hypnosis, kind of an overall spiritual based coaching program.
And the book is available on Amazon. And it sounds like an amazing book. Obviously, it turned your life around, didn't it?
It absolutely did.
Thanks so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jean.
And stay with us because we have Grace Etsuko Lee coming up in the next segment. And she has 2 books to talk about. One is she's the author of Social Graces, Essential Tools for Successful Ladies, and Little Caterpillar in Training, which is an intimate memoir about growing up as an outcast in Japan because she was a mixed-race child, and she had some incredible experiences there. So stay tuned. This is the Book Beat, and here on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host, Ferran Dozier. I'm inviting you to join me on WDC Radio every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time as we discuss community topics around health, sports, and entertainment. So don't forget to shout us out. What's the count? On WDC Radio, only on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we're more than just talk. What's the count?
Hi, this is Julie Orlov, inviting you to join us every Friday.
Hi, this is Romy Klinger,
This is Rose Garcia.
and we are inviting you to join us for the Romy and Rose Show every Friday at 4 p.m. Tune in for the Romy and Rose Show. We're going to be talking about pop culture, dating, business 101, what's ratchet, what's not ratchet, and music and so much more. So don't forget, tune in to the Romy and Rose Show. About to get real.
Exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio, R&B, or watch us on Ustream.tv. Reality show handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
We're real talk.
Hi, and welcome back to the Book Beat. I'm Jean-Noel Bassior. And Grace Etsuko Lee is with us for this segment. And she has written 2 really extraordinary books, very different books, which I am familiar with. I'm familiar with every word of them. Because I helped out in the editing process. And the first one really was amazing, Little Caterpillar in Training. One of the things that was most amazing about this book is you talk about how when you were born as a mixed race child in Japan, that it was pretty amazing that you weren't killed at birth because that was being done, right?
Yes, if you were handicapped, they said you're gone, because in Japan, this is back in the 50s. So if you're born handicapped, there was nobody that's going to take care of you. And even though I wasn't born handicapped, they were considered me handicapped because I was too dark.
Because your father was black.
Yes. My
Black
father
West Indian, right?
Yes.
He'd been doing some work for the American Army there, was it military?
No, he worked for the American government.
The government, right. Yeah.
To rebuild Japan after the war.
Right.
And
And
then
your mother
he
was
met
Japanese.
my mother.
Yeah.
That was Japanese, is Japanese. And yes, it was not accepted at that time. So I'm glad I'm here, but I almost committed suicide. So
Yeah, it was so bad. I remember you said that people would, if you got on a bus, people would move their seat, right? People would cross the street if they saw you coming.
yes,
Yes.
at that time, the Japanese knew about people with yellow hair and blue eyes, but they never heard of black people. And it was their first time seeing black. And in Japan, if you're black or you're dark, you are a peasant because you work outside. You know, so you become their first impression is that you're a peasant. And of course, if you're a peasant, there's different classes in Japan. So if you're a peasant, they treat you a certain way. So
Well, I kind of fell in love with your father with the book because you talk about how he would kind of smile at people and he'd let them kind of almost invite them to come up and touch him, right? Just to be familiar, right?
absolutely,
So he taught you.
yes, that was good memories. Because wherever we went, people used to stare at us. And in Japan, it's impolite to stare. Bad, bad, bad.
Bad etiquette.
Yeah, bad etiquette. So my father and I would be walking down the street, and people would just stare at us. And I would tell my father, Daddy, they're staring at us again. And he'd say, that's because we're good looking. And what he would do was he would say, just watch. And he would bow to the Japanese people, and some of them will be embarrassed and run away. But then some people will take that opportunity to come and speak to him. Say, where are you from? Why do you paint yourself all brown? So my father would tell them, I'm from America, and this is not painted. This is my color of my skin. And we go into all these different discussions and questions and answers, and the Japanese people that were brave enough to come and speak to him learned something new. And my father was said, see, curiosity didn't kill the cat. It made him wiser.
And you remembered that, didn't you?
I did. It was very, it was a learning lesson for me. And to realize that once they understand that there's more than one kind of thinking, one kind of people, one kind of flower, one kind of anything, there's many different ways to think and see. Once you understand that, you're not prejudiced anymore or ignorant. But and my mother used to say, when people used to stare at us, she said, just feel bad that they don't understand. They are not educated yet.
So, what was really ironic is meanwhile you're getting educated in etiquette from your mother, right? Japanese etiquette from your family?
Yeah.
And that's where this began, right? Your interest in etiquette?
Well, my mother said, if you know your etiquette, people will treat you properly.
But they didn't always, did they, in Japan?
Well, and of course, etiquette, first impression, that's how they make a decision on how they're going to treat you. Well, my first impression was terrible because I was too dark.
Right.
My hair is a little too curly, and I look weird. I was ugly to them. So I had to pass that. The first impression, I didn't have much chance. Second impression was speaking. In Japan, there's many different classes, and my mother comes from a upper class family, and the Japanese, every class has their own way of speaking. So if you speak in the upper class, there's a attitude now. Now they say, oh, you're more educated, more, you've been trained more, all those different things. Same with the Americans. If you've been you went to college, you have a different way of speaking. So then the second impression changed their way of thinking and their attitude towards me. And of course, after that is my posture. Of course, that comes from tea ceremony, Japanese dancing, flower arrangement, all those different things, sewing. Those are area where the teachers taught you how to actually act socially, is when you take those little classes. So it wasn't just an etiquette class.
Right. Well, so you became, though, an expert in etiquette. This is what you do, and in international etiquette and social graces. We're going to talk about your second book as well. In a way, from having to change people's impression of you, right? That's sort of where this came from, then, that it really works.
Yes. Yes. That's how I use it later in my book. And in this book, what I did was I wrote about my growing up in Japan, which apparently was very different. I wrote it for my grandchildren. because my grandchildren are all mixed. They're international. They got a little bit of everything. And matter of fact, they're blondes. So they don't even know that they have a black grandfather because my father passed away in Japan.
Right.
And they understand that they're part Japanese, but then this is what they think Japanese looks like. So I thought it would be best to write a history so they would know their ancestry. But then when I wrote it, you suggested it. Everybody that helped me edit it said, you need to send this, let other people read it. So
Right.
here it is.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating book. You're very honest in it, and then you come to the United States, and then that's a whole new part of the book as well. So then you got interested in social graces, and how did you decide to make this a career?
Well, it started from doing international marketing. That was my first business that I did for many, many years. And when I did international marketing, it was important to put Americans and Japanese together or other countries together. When I did joint ventures, they would sit down across each other to negotiate, and I realized that I understood what everybody was talking about, but then one side didn't understand the other. When the Japanese were going, yes, and the Americans go, oh, they want to sell it. I realized I need to teach marketing and social graces. I didn't realize at that time it's etiquette, but it was, I call it a marketing class.
You call it social graces, right? Sort
Yes,
of,
I
right?
call it social graces and business etiquette, because every country has their own little etiquette. And we have to know, we also have to know their little bit of social graces. When Americans sell, they want to know the price right away. You know, they said, this is it, they're very simple. Japanese sell, they want to know how long your company's been in business. They want to know you a little bit more. That was the difference. They were all kind of talking
That's
like
a huge
this.
difference,
Yes.
actually. Yeah. So hold up your other book.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I found this book equally fascinating in a different way, because this is about things that some people would call archaic. And yet you're saying you're experiencing a big demand for what you speak about now, right? You've got some TV interest in you,
Yes.
right?
Finally, yay! Americans are interested in social graces, where the last
knew?
30 years I've been saying this. If we don't pay attention to social graces now, it's going to be chaos later. Oh no, everything's fine. That's what I got. Social graces is out. And
Very out. And this book, though, is all the things we thought were out, but I guess everything's new again, right? They're actually in. This is about how to set the table, how to act in a restaurant, right? How to get in and out of a car, how to
Yes.
enter a room, right? What are some of the other things?
It's about how to be a lady. Now, of course, I have a book. I'm writing a book for the men, but I felt that the ladies needed to learn first. So, yes, it's about first impression, how to dress, what colors look good, all those kind of basic imagery. But it's also about how to eat properly, how to take care of your family, your marriage, your etiquette, and international or business etiquette. There's 2 handshakes for ladies for
Really?
business. Yes.
What
You
are
want to
they?
learn it? You want to learn
Yeah.
it? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, the regular handshake, which is a man's handshake, that is a negotiation handshake. And of course, that's the regular handshake where you
Right.
do a nice firm, look straight in the eyes. That's a negotiation, right? You could look straight in the eye, make sure you're firm and strong.
Right.
Okay. But and then the other thing is that when you do the American or Western handshake, you always stand up. It's a business handshake, a negotiation show. Men always stand up, and if we're a lady and you're in a business situation, you always stand up, just like a man, because there was no business etiquette for ladies. It was men. That's all. The men started it. But for ladies, when we handshake in a social situation, we don't have to stand up, and it's basically like this.
Oh, right. Yeah, I'm seeing that.
Yeah,
I've
it's
never.
nice to meet you.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Never
Not
thought
nice to meet you like this.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
nice to meet you like this.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you have a European man, love to kiss your hand. So those are 2 handshakes for ladies. And for gentlemen, if you're if you're handshaking for a social situation, you do not extend your hand until the lady extends her hand. So there's 2 handshakes for ladies that we have to remember. So there's more, but I'm going to...
Yeah, you bought some glasses here.
Yes, I brought some glasses. I thought it'll be fun because ladies, to be feminine, there's a way to drink, there's a way to eat properly, but the most important is slow everything down. So, of course, this is for a white wine. So you hold it at the stem, but then you pick it up, you pause, and then you sip. You sip. You don't go, gup, 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 gup. Okay? So if you're really thirsty, it's sip, 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 and then pause.
See, I didn't know about the pause part.
Yes, you have to pause, or it's going to look like this.
Yeah, that's what I usually do. Also, I grabbed it like this.
Oh, no.
You didn't see that. And then you said take it by the stem.
Yes, because you don't want it to get cold, warm here. You don't want your wine to get warm, especially if you're drinking cold. So it's from here, pause, drink, pause, and down.
It's funny how a little touch like that does
Anybody here feminine?
Yeah, very
Make sure you move your
elegant.
shoulders. Make sure you move your shoulders with it. Yes, it is a little dance where you move around.
Never would have thought of that. What are some of the other things, little tips like that we can add to our day to...
Well, there's lots of things. The only thing I can't stand up, but if you go, in the book, there's how to sit properly. There's a proper way to sit for ladies, and it's very feminine.
And you've got photographs in the book that
Absolutely.
show step by step.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then once you do the workshops, or this is basically a finishing school in a book. So when you're finished with this, you come to our regular workshop where I can touch you and correct you and videotape you. So the other thing that's very important is how to cross your legs. Unfortunately, we have to bring the camera down, but we can't do that. But there is a proper way to cross your legs.
Yes, I remember that in the book. There's kind of the
Very
male way and a feminine way.
Yes.
You know, the thing in the book that really impressed me, too, was how to exit a room. Because, that was pretty amazing. Because most of us, like if you're at a party or something or a group gathering, so, you go out the door and you're kind of like, your back is to them, right? But there's this wonderful photo in the book of this woman who she turned around and faced the crowd as if she was, just taking a bow almost, and it looked so much more attractive,
Yes.
as she exited that way.
Yes, when you leave a room, you want to turn around quickly so they're not looking at your buttocks
Yeah.
or your back.
Right.
Unless you got a really nice buttock. But you turn straight around and you say goodbye, and then you close the door in front of you. Japanese do it the same way. It's interesting. They always close the door in front. They slide the door in front of them, so they'll turn around right away. Same when you walk in the room. You walk in the room open, and close the door behind you, so your face is always facing the crowd.
And these little touches that we're not aware of, as you describe them, I can see what a big difference they make in your body language and how you're communicating, and the message of your energy that you're communicating, right?
Yes, and you want people to treat you properly, and of course they say social graces is about you treating them properly, but unless you have your nice first impression, people aren't going to treat you nicely. So your first impression is important. You know how you dress up, ladies, when we all get dressed up and we go to the department store or wherever people are going, may I help you? If you look really nice, they're like, may I help you? May I help you?
True.
Yeah, that's what it is. And also, I have to say, etiquette is it's a how to get all those wonderful things. But the next step is about your heart. It's knowing who you are. It's cause and effect. So if you are proper and you're nice and you're kind, you're going to get that much 100% back to you. So
And you're finding are you finding an upswing? There's a renewed interest, right?
absolutely. Look at the chaos that's going on right now,
Yeah.
from politics to bullying. You know, so
It's kind of like it gives people a sense of security and safety, I think.
absolutely,
Yeah,
it's like a dance.
Yeah, and you know what the dance is, you know what the rules are.
Exactly,
Yeah.
you know the steps, and you can dance much nicer. You're much politer. You're not stepping on my toes.
Yeah, which we could use more of that in the world. Well, thank you so much
Welcome.
for being with us. And how can people contact you?
Well, please go to my website. It's Grace Lee, Lee International.com. Spelt out, international spelt out. GraceLeeInternational.com.
And the books are on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. It's on my site. So
Everywhere.
Everywhere, wherever I can go.
And you coach and you're available for...
Absolutely. We have workshops going on, and we'd love to have all of you come.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
So join us next week, same time, same station, for the Book Beat. And, of course, all the shows are archived here at LA Talk Live, where we are more than just talk.